The Pro Padel League, episode number 10, double digits. Episode 9 was in beautiful Tampa, Florida, when we had our very first games being played. I can't be more excited to talk about that and to talk about everything going on with the Pro Padel League. I've got our amazing special guests, really the men of the hour, because this past weekend, as we're there and we're introducing players, teams, and we're thanking everybody, Keith and Marcos, I mean, I could see the emotion in both of you, just how excited you were to not only get it started, but thanking people and all the special people that have made it possible. I think I'll start off with, I mean, other than the obvious, we're going to start it off with what Marcos does well. But then I'm going to ask you what the vibe was like for that very first night. But I'm going to count down from 3, and Marcos, you're going to do what you do best. Ready? We got 3, 2, 1.
Vamos, PPL, vamos!
Now we can officially start. Keith Stein and Marcos del Pilar, it's great to have you on as usual. Actually, let's start with you, Keith, because I could see you're certainly not nervous while things were going on, but making sure, like a nervous dad, making sure everything went well. Tell me what you thought the vibe was like, especially on that Friday night when all the players, team owners, and coaches were there.
Exceeded my expectations by so much, showing up that the first moment when I walked onto the site and I saw the beautiful center court built by Chris from the LA Beat, it was magnificent. We looked like we had been operating this league for 10 years. I thought I was walking into the US Open or something. And, when I think back, there were many memories that stand out, but I'm seeing Marcos now on the podcast, and I don't know if you were close to the press conference we had, Davis, but we had a press conference. It was Joe Vinco, Marcos and myself, Del Potro, Tommy Haas, and another special guest who we're going to talk about maybe later in the podcast.
Yeah, don't bring him up yet. Don't bring him up yet.
I won't bring him up. But sitting there with Marcos after this incredible journey we'd been on, that was, I think, my moment of clarity where it all sort of sunk in that this league has arrived. This league is really big time, and it not about to explode. I think it officially exploded on our first weekend.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So Marcos, what an emotional weekend, but certainly opening ceremonies was as emotional as it gets. I want to hear what your feelings were, but for our listeners out there, we had to catch Marcos in the car. He's a busy guy as a commissioner, so he may cut out a little bit, so we'll do our best. But Marcos, what was the vibe like and your overall emotion on that Friday opening ceremonies?
You're totally right, Davis, and I apologize in advance for our audience, because I'm driving on the car. Someone else is driving, but I'm sorry because of that. But
all good.
I wanted to share something very special for us, and it's almost been a week since it happened, and I'm still very emotional. I usually say that the players are our biggest asset, and I took the time, during the first weekend to say all of them, one by one, thank you for making this happen. I'm truly appreciative to the owners, of course, as well, but the players are the ones that made that happen for us. So I really wanted to say thank you one more time. I will never stop saying thank you to everybody that helped us out in this amazing journey. That was very, very emotional, as Keith was saying, like very beautiful moments, watching at everybody's eyes, and looking at them and, having that beautiful moments, together celebrating with the toast, the champagne toast and everything that we put together. This is something that I will always keep in my deep inside, man. Thank you. That was really, really great.
And to Keith's point, I think that when I walked in for the first time, especially on that Friday night, I arrived Thursday, got there Thursday morning, saw everything, got a good feeling for everything. But once things started to get sort of ready for the opening ceremonies and the speeches and all our special guests, the celebrities, I had to kind of pinch myself too, right? Because I'm like, this is incredible. This is happening. It's actually happening. It's not it wasn't my dream to begin with, but I was a part of your dream, and watching it sort of unfold was incredible. And then the thank yous to all the people that are special within the Pro Padel League that you needed to have this happen. Another big shout out to Chris from the LA Beat, because the court looked incredible. That was the backdraft to the whole ceremonies, was looking at that center court. Back to you, Keith. You had this idea in the back of your head, and you already sort of alluded to it, that it's already happened. But was there a moment over the weekend that you were there that you said, okay, this has officially arrived?
Yeah, there were several moments like that, but the press conference was a defining moment, I think, because that made it official. But there were various moments. I took great pride watching Marcos and the other athletes, Del Potro and Tommy Haas.
The exhibition.
Yeah, that was really something. By the way, I got a chance to spend some time speaking with Jared Palmer. I don't know if you guys did.
Former number one ATP doubles player in the world.
But a very lovely guy. Really a wonderful person. One person we should acknowledge, and we spent a lot of time, when the Friday night was also very special. Marcos made some remarks. I made some remarks. And we had an opportunity to thank all the people who made the weekend possible and the PPL possible. And one person in particular we singled out was Barbara, who's one of the owners of the Arkansas Matrix. This lady is just such an extraordinary person. She did so much heavy lifting for the league and continues to do heavy lifting every weekend to get us ready and make us look so.
She's incredible.
Really, really something. By the way, she's a lot like you, Davis, because I want to thank you. It's wonderful. It's contagious when you're around positive people. Barbara's a really positive person. No matter how many balls she has in the air, this lady is always
infectious. Yeah.
And you're the same way. I saw you. You were, because you were under pressure as a coach of a team, but you got a smile on your face, and you and I had a really nice talk. On Saturday afternoon. So we appreciate that. And it is infectious. And the one thing that also stays with me is the positivity of the players. They all just seemed so happy. Like, you expect most people to be happy. Yeah. But Marcos, the players just were very inspiring.
Listen, I wanna make a stop in there, because you guys cannot imagine how many messages I received. I would say that 95% of the players took the time to send me a message back to say, Marcos, I wanna thank you, you and the entire PPL staff for what you guys are putting together. We are more than happy. We are super excited. You guys are making a huge step for the sport, and the way that you guys are treating us is absolutely amazing. So receiving that, you were asking Davis something that is making you feel emotional. That is making me feel very emotional. Receiving so many messages from so many players. Once again, 95% of the players text me back saying, hey, Marcos, this is amazing. Congratulations. What you put together is really, really high class. And that is, making me feel this feeling of accomplishment, like, hey, we are making an impact. Yeah. So I'm really happy.
That's a really good segue to my next question too, which is this platform that you've built for the players. Now, these players, we have teams that only have 2 international players per team. So there's a chance that those internationals might be used to a similar setup. Marta Marrero probably goes to an event where there's food and it's catered properly and there's this and there's that. But a lot of these players, is this the first time that some of these North American players are coming to a venue that looks like it's fully being taken care of for them, where the food's being prepared for them, there's a gym for them, there's massage for them, is this typical for the majority of these players? Isn't that part of why they're so excited about this? Because this is completely new to them. It feels like a professional event. Marcos, good question for you.
Well, that was, believe it or not, that was part of the mission, and the legacy of the PPL. Once again, I know that I'm repeating this, all over the place, but we wanted to provide a new ecosystem for players to grow and develop themselves in North America. And part of our priorities was like, hey, we need these guys to get paid. We need to treat all these guys as superstars they are. This saying that they fake it until you make it, right? So I committed with all of them, like, listen, we are going to put a world-class event for and by you, for all of you guys. And starting from getting paid until, the small details. So we design an entire customer journey for them to be happy, and to be treated as they deserve. So this is part of the mission of the PPL, and I'm so proud that they are feeling that. You know, like, hey, you guys.
Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it is my motto with coaching too. So that's perfect.
No, you did. You went way beyond faking it. Look at the results of your team, Davis. But you know something. I don't know if you noticed it. I hope you noticed it. We had so-called VIPs, like the famous people, but we put a lot of effort into creating gift bags for the real VIPs of the PPL, who are the players. So every player received a gift bag. Nobody else did. The owners didn't receive Del Potro, etc. They didn't receive gift bags. And in those gift bags, really good swag. Jerseys, lots of
It's
good
coming,
stuff.
Mike. Look at Mike. Mike looks so angry right now. Mike's got 0, but we're going to work on that, Mike. So let's go forward a little bit here, because I know for me, I had a little bit of a sleepless night Friday night because I was very anxious to get started 10 a.m. Saturday morning, May 16th. The Miami Paddle Club versus the Toronto Polar Bears was the very first match ever in the PPL. Marcos and Keith, and we can start off with you, Marcos. What was again, talk about emotions. That first match is starting. It's live on YouTube. How did you feel about it all?
In my personal and humble opinion, I couldn't believe that. I needed to cleanse myself several times to say, like, hey, double checking that everything was working properly. The YouTube was properly, the players were in there, the coaches, the court was perfectly set up. But when I was enjoying the first games in there, I was like, oh my goodness. Something that made me resonate, to be honest with you, is that I realized that we were having like 3 North American players with 1 international on the court. And I was so proud, saying like, hey, listen what we are building. Yeah. We are literally building the platform for North America Padel to be developed, by bringing some internationals and giving them the opportunity to interact together. So that was
and Marcos, can you think of a better international player to start things off than Marta Marrero? Could you have thought of that?
Of course not, man. Having Mara here, with the Miami paddle team is amazing, as well as some other international players. We have Guga Cuerten, Guga Vasquez, we have Seba Nerone, and some other clay players as well. So I'm very grateful for all of them. But that was a good start for sure. And
Keith, where did you watch that first game from? Did you catch it?
Oh yeah, the whole thing. And Mike will appreciate this. I sat with Sebastian Jovinko and his partner Rick, and it might have been a mistake for me because I started feeling their stress. Sebastian, for those people who don't know, everybody should know that he's a world-class athlete, famous soccer player. But those competitive juices were flowing so hard that he was agitated because you guys took the Polar Bears apart, really, especially in the female match, the first one. Mm-hmm. It just Polar Bears have good players, but it was a bit of a mismatch, and Sebastian was feeling very uncomfortable. So it made me, feel awkward. But I could feel the stress was palpable. But I would have liked the first match to have been a bit more competitive. But when the men's side came on for the Polar Bears, I thought it was a bit more competitive. But this is going to happen. You're going to have teams that are stronger than others.
There was nerves involved too. Like I think that like for everyone involved on day one, one of our players, Brittany Dubins, mentioned, like I've not been live streamed on YouTube before. I've never had Juan Martín Del Potro watch my match.
But Brittany looked very comfortable in that first match. I thought.
Didn't she hit it at the very beginning, and then you get comfortable when you're winning. There is some comfort in being up a set and playing with Marta Marrero. But when the men went on, I quickly realized that it doesn't, like, you can have a Ruben Rivera and you can have these superstars, but once the match begins, because the Toronto Polar Bears men, we were tied 3-3 in the first set. And it was really a break then that changed the flow of things, but it could have gone either way in that first set. That's how competitive things are. Marcos, don't you think that especially the men's side, it's going to be a lot of 3-set matches probably moving forward?
agree 100%. And some of the recognition that I received, coming from overseas is like, wow, guys, you put together an incredible competitive setup.
Yeah.
Some people might think that the players were so-so, and when they showed that on television, on YouTube as well, they thought that, wow, this is going to be pretty wide. The level of the players is amazing, and all the matches are going to be pretty, pretty tight and very, very competitive. So I think we are putting an incredible television product together.
Toronto Mike, what did you see? Did you catch anything on YouTube? Did you look on Instagram? What was your status during those matches?
All of the above. I actually saw it live streaming on Twitter. So I follow the Pro Padel League on Twitter, of course. I follow you on all the social media platforms, and I saw it there, and it was the first time I'd seen Padel, and it was riveting. And I want to say congratulations to all of you, because you're all builders for a brand new league, the PPL. And from where I sat here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, watching online, you mentioned Instagram and elsewhere, it really looked big. Like, it looked like it was year 25 of this established league, and it was a well-oiled machine. I was impressed.
That's a good compliment. So
can I just add something?
Of course,
just for perspective, it was less than 1 year ago, that Marcos and I just registered a domain name, ProPadelLeague.com.
Mind
less
blown.
than a year from a domain name to where we're at today. I think it's mind-blowing, Mike.
I think the success really began when you've hired someone to host the podcast. I think that's probably where that was probably the jump off point.
It was pretty much
on that note. This is milestone episode 10, which means for 9 weeks, I was part of these discussions where we were building it all up, and I was learning these players' names, and I was really following along, and I was fascinated by it all. But now we're talking with actual matches under our belt, and more matches to come. So I'm basically dying to know
how to go.
How did it go? Like you mentioned, we had talked about the Toronto Polar Bears and their strategy to draft players that were local to Tampa, right? Didn't we talked about this? With that payoff. So now I'm anxious to hear your take on the matches.
So let me quickly go through to put it into perspective, not just from Miami's standpoint, but from everybody. So there's 7 teams currently in this league, and we'll get into the more teams that are joining this league in a second.
Right.
We have 7 teams that played. All 7 teams played matches this weekend, but not every team played 2, right? So two teams played only once, right? So the records. And it was interesting to see, because I was as riveted of my own team as I was watching the other teams.
Right.
One of the teams that I thought was going to be a powerhouse, and maybe still can be, are the LA Beat. And this is how competitive this league is. LA Beat found themselves 0-2 by the time the league ended.
Wow. Are any teams 2-0?
We have one team 2-0. I'll let Keith answer that so that I don't look like I'm boasting about.
It's Miami. They've got the best coach in the league.
I think it's coaching. If you ask our players, they'll mostly say it's coaching, and then the secondary part will be the players.
100%.
You said
I give you full credit, Davis, because you have such a special spirit that you can make, with your personality and your flow, man, you can make everybody win, even me. So if I'm in your team, I can even win because of you as well.
That's nice of you to say.
And Davis, he's funny. He can be really arrogant, and next moment really humble, and he's being humble about something. He's not only the coach, he's really the general manager also. He recruited all the players. I mean, your
He's going to get a bigger hat because his head is growing
too much.
I had people banging. I had offers just now. People are banging down my door for offers to take the GM job. I'm no, guys. It's a no.
But Davis, you didn't sleep well Friday night. Walk us through the rest of your experience that weekend, and things that you didn't enjoy, or things any problems you had. Tell us about your whole experience.
The whole experience. Let's put it first off. The whole experience was incredible, from our team experience to the playing experience to the off court, dealing with the Pro Padel League, and everyone that you had there, dealing with the club itself. I have nothing but it's going to be something that I look back on, no matter how this all goes and how it plays out. It's going to go back as one of my favorite moments for sure, the entire weekend. So your specific question. So I would say my biggest responsibility with this team really was assembling it. I'd say that I'm most proud of the work and the effort from the draft, and then the internationals and all the discussions I had with everybody. I'm most proud of the team I assembled, because I think that we put together, forget about rankings and forget about, just we put together a team that I thought and hoped would gel well together, whether it be a Ruben Rivera and a Jose Azripe or whoever it might be. I wanted to have, and to Marcos's point, my energy and how I wanted to be with this team is I wanted them to feel like they're in a winning environment. I wanted to be a spokesperson for that. And I wanted to make sure that I created an energy that was all about winning and comfort and trust and relaxation and all those amazing things that go into winning sports. My coaches really are Marta Marrero and Ruben Rivera. Those are those who I lean on to help the players understand certain things. My role in the moment during the matches was to calm them down if things were getting tight, express what they needed to do as far as their emotions. If someone was getting overly emotional, to check the emotion. If they were getting too up, is to calm down from being up, was to point out things that were going on within the match. But I left the X's and O's up to my two strongest players as they were dealing with those. And I think that was the best route. It clearly worked in our favor. But to what Marcos was saying, it's really about, I think coaching and managing is really about, it's same with any job. It's really about creating the right atmosphere for the players and for your people to succeed. And that was my main priority, was how could I create an environment, and not just for my players, but for Ronnie Strasser, the owner. How, create an environment that felt like it's not only a winning attitude, but all of our players are buying into what we're trying to create here. And I think that was a huge success.
You did a great. I have a question though for you and Marcos. Marta is like the Serena Williams of Padel. How were the other players reacting to her? Not just from your team, but from other teams. Like, were they going up to her and were they in awe? What was? I didn't have a chance to observe that interaction.
I'll answer quickly and I'll let Marcos jump in. My observation was that Marta did a good job of not making it feel like she was Serena Williams of paddle, in that she put, especially within our team. I mean, she's been the most gracious of people, and she's so humble with everybody else. She was taking pictures with all the other players. I could tell that they felt like she was, walking around. They knew who she was, but she did a great job of, oh, hi, Marta. I know who you are. Okay, but that's fine. But I'm Marta. It's really nice to meet you. Of course, it's in Spanish, but she was so gracious with how she handled everybody else that I think it was her attitude that made people feel comfortable. What do you think, Marcos?
I'm gonna take two big pieces that you mentioned. One is, it's all about the spirit. It's all about the energy that you build around a project. And I think that we also did the same thing for the PPL, the entire league, building something that is based on contribution, generosity, good emotions, good feelings, something that we all are aligned. As I said on the inaugural speech, even when we have different teams represented, we all are part of the same team. So the beautiful moment on this is that we all are part of the PPL, and we all make, that as a substantial, feeling, like all of us, know that we are on the same journey together. So creating that environment is making all of us, our life easier, better, and we are, no matter the result. I mean, I know that some teams are pushing, for the result all the time, but at the same time, we are making history together. So creating that environment was part of our mission as well, and I think we accomplished. On the second part, I would say that not only Marta is an incredible person for sure, but also, we have some of the best players in the world in here. Marta, former number one, Seba, former number one, Ruben is top 30, and Guga and some others, and we have Luis Estrada, which is top one in the country as well. And all of them are so humble. This is part of the spirit. This is part of the legacy as well. This is part of the mission and part of the environment that we need to build together and spread the word out all over the world. Because this is way beyond than the North America. This is an entire world movement that we are leading in North America. So
the whole world's watching.
Exactly.
The whole world's watching and listening. Now let's get into Mike, because I like where you were headed with that. Like,
Well, I have a
let's
quick
get
question
into-
before we
yeah.
get there. Is that you mentioned the owner of the Miami franchise, Ronnie Strasser. When I was at his house, I saw a banner. I won't say the full word, but it said F Vegas. How is Vegas doing?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're gonna get into the details. Vegas only had, they were one of the teams that only had one match. They had a crucial match. I mean, probably my favorite match from a standpoint of a fan was watching Arkansas Vegas. Hey, Marcos
Yeah.
and Keith. So that match, it went to the mixed. It went to the mixed, and I think that match, because they're both of those teams are looking at each other like we need to beat each other to get into the playoffs. Like it's not a joke. Even though it's the very first weekend, you can't go. You can't. Arkansas couldn't go 0-2. No one could go 0-2 and think that they were going to get back easily into it. So that match was crucial. What do you think, Marcos, about that Arkansas Vegas matchup?
That was once in a lifetime, man. Every single point, you could feel, the tension, and the competition all over the place. Everybody was kind of quiet. At the same time, everybody was crying. Like, that was, I still have that in my mind, man. What a competitive match.
Yeah.
That was.
Now, as far as standings, Mike, so Vegas was 1-0. What I can do is I can name you all the standings. It's pretty simple because we only got 7 teams here.
Yes, please.
But
You can go, Davis, you see it on PPL.com, right?
Oh, I know. Where do you think I'm going, buddy?
Good man.
The
ProPadelLeague.com.
only place to go is the PPL.com.
ProPadelLeague.com.
Marcos is right. That's the actual
At
name.
ProPadelLeague.com.
Yes.
Okay,
Let's do the right code, guys.
yeah, it's on the right. You know what it is? As I'm on my computer here, it's showing it different on the phone, but I actually have memorized. I don't even need that.
Right.
So Miami is the only team currently 2-0. We have, and then what we'll do is the next 2 teams that are 1-0 that don't have a loss yet. We have the San Diego Stingrays that are 1-0, and they beat the Toronto Polar Bears. So Polar Bears went 0-2. We have the Vegas Smash that went 1-0. We have the Cancun Waves that went 1-1. They had amazing matches both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, they beat LA Beat. Oh my God, that was my second favorite matchup, right, Marco? Yeah.
Wild. That was pretty wild too.
And then Arkansas is 1-1. And we got, well, who am I missing? I think I got everybody there. So we have a 2-0 team. We have a 1-0. We have a 1-0. We have a 1-1, a 1-1, and then an 0-2. Toronto Polar Bears, the only team that didn't get a win.
Well, no, LA beat too.
Sorry, LA beat as well, 0-2.
Yeah.
So, but LA beat, again, in my research, and my research wasn't just me; it was my players and everybody else had them as a really strong team, and I still believe they are. I just think they had tough games against Cancun and Arkansas. Right? Like that's what it comes down to.
They could have won both matches, but this is competition. This is sports, man. At some point, small, tiny changes are making bigger, impacts, and bigger results and outcomes. So you gotta pay attention to every single small detail, and this is what it is. Competition is like that, man.
Keith, I got a cool question for you.
Yeah.
Is there a matchup that you're most looking forward to based on maybe what you've seen so far, or just even before the league began, you're like, oh, I want to see that?
I think everyone has to look forward to the Vegas-Miami match. You must be dying for that one. Even if you weren't connected with the team, you'd be dying for that one.
I am dying for that game. I'm worried about the end result of even if we win, if I'm friends with Henry still, and if we lose, if I have a job at all. Are my two biggest concerns. Our owner Ronnie Strasser was very funny, but it's the ongoing joke here. Every time we won on Saturday night after we beat Toronto, it was like, you got your job for one more day. After we beat Cancun on Sunday, you've lived to see another week. You get to live another week. But no, it's all good. The pressure is positive. It's amazing to have that type of pressure. If we could all have this type of pressure in our lives, that it's a positive pressure, right? It's a sport. It's incredible.
Life can
Marcos,
be
what about you?
life can be boring,
Yeah,
right? It's even for people with busy lives. So
yeah.
this is so much fun.
This is so much fun. Marcos, do you have a favorite matchup that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, the one that I'm looking forward to seeing and hopefully participating is the coach pro-am that will be playing. I don't know when yet, but the coach is pro-am, and I want to participate with Keith as well. So I want to put all of you guys, coaches on the court,
Oh
having
my
fun
God.
together. And yeah, we need to find the time to do that as well. So it's not only the players and what is happening actually on the YouTube channel and the broadcast, but also the spirit. I want
Yeah.
all the players, all the coaches to participate as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be fun.
And so
Davis, we have to leave some time. I know there's some other things for us to cover, but we have to talk to Marcos about what he thought of Del Potro and Tommy Haas and Jared on the court, because I did you watch some of Marcos's shots? He was incredible. There were
No.
rallies where it was no
Marcos, it's sickening how good you are at paddle. I like you for the most part, but I dislike you when you're good at stuff,
Listen, then you like me a lot because I'm not good at all.
Oh, that's not true at all.
I'm not good at all. So for me, man, that was like, hey, I was watching myself like, what the hell are you doing here? I was thinking like, hey, these guys are truly superstars. These guys are some of the best at least in the world. Former top one in the world. I was watching myself like, oh my goodness, what a privilege. Having some videos of me playing with them, man. That was a real privilege. I was super happy to get invited to do that. And obviously, this is a memory that I'll have forever, for sure.
Yeah.
Marcos, could you set the stage, like,
yeah,
for our audience? Tell everyone how it was all set up. Who were you playing with? What happened? We did. I did some photos with you and the players before everything kicked off. But set the stage, please.
As a reminder, there's 7 teams. Okay, Marcos, before you set this up, there's 7 teams currently in the PPL, and one of these participants in this pro-am is going to be number 8. So maybe you can cue that up a little bit for us here, okay?
Sounds good. I'll do my best. So that was Juan Martín del Potro. Look, listen to this. That was Juan Martín del Potro playing with me, with my humble Marcos del Pilar, against Jared Palmer and Tommy Haas. Wow. So all of us, on the court with a very, very special guest, on the umpire chair that I would love to introduce, like the one and only. Do you want to say that, Davis?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the music to start.
I think Mike wants to play some music, maybe.
Ladies and gentlemen, the legend, the man who owns the Orlando team, one of the new teams in the PPL, the one and the only Daddy Yankee.
Daddy Yankee, man. Daddy Yankee, the one and only Daddy Yankee. That was awesome.
Wow. That's huge, guys. That is massive.
It's so big for us, Mike, because we've been approached by many celebrities. We've talked to many celebrities. It's a very tricky process when you're doing this dance with celebrities, because they come in so many different shapes and sizes. And some celebrities are going to really step up and be engaged and involved. And some celebrities, they'll do a post here and there, and they'll go through the motions. But I've got to give all the credit to Marcos. He's established a real relationship with Daddy Yankee and his partner, Tobias, who's one of the owners of the Marlins baseball team. So it's not only Daddy Yankee's partner is one of the owners of a Major League Baseball team. So he brings all of that expertise, plus Daddy Yankee owns another baseball team in Puerto Rico. So Daddy Yankee he's a tier 1 celebrity. He's one of the most famous celebrities in the world.
Yeah.
He's a very smart businessman, a great entrepreneur. He loves sport. And he said to Marcos many times, I've been in, I've had several meetings, but Marcos goes to dinner with him and really hangs out with him. And Marcos knows this guy, he uses Marcos's favorite word, legacy. He wants to create a legacy with this league and with his team in Orlando.
He really, I wanna reassure that, because he really wants to. He resonated, from day one, with the idea of changing the world, creating a legacy, leaving something or leaving a better world for the next generations and impacting the world and so on. So this is not only a business thing for him, and getting involved in sports, which is something that he likes, of course, but I can feel something deep inside, him, he's very, very interested in contributing, leaving a legacy and participating actively. It's not like, hey, I just want to put my face in there and that's it. So I really like him a lot, to be honest with you. I resonate with him in so many areas, and the approach, he's so humble, so willing to contribute. He's creating that environment for all of us. He wants to become, the creator of a new movement. He created the reggaeton movement all over the world. And I was pushing him like, hey, bro, let's do it again. Let's do it again with Padel. You can become the new ambassador for Padel all over the world, and let's do it together, again. And he's willing to do that. So I couldn't be more thankful and grateful, for having him, being part of this, because I can tell you, he's already creating an impact in a week, but way more to come. So we are going to keep doing great things.
Your eyes widen a lot bigger when someone like him joins your group, right? I think, like what Keith was saying earlier, you can't add more respectability to your group than adding someone like that. Well, it's not just because of how many followers he has on Instagram. It's his business background. It's his entrepreneurial mind, and it's the success he's had. He's got a track record, right?
And his human being quality, man. I don't get impressed. To be honest with you, know me already. I don't get impressed for any celebrities. I don't get impressed for things, cars, Lamborghini, nothing impressed me, but human being quality, Yeah. I got impressed for the way people treat others, and the legacy and the things that you are doing for others, and what is your human being quality. And this guy is out of charts. So Daddy Yankee, I can tell you, is out of charts. He's an incredible human being, and he'll be contributing a lot.
So Marcos, what do you think of, maybe talk for a minute, because you know Orlando so well. That's where his team's going to be located. What do you think of Orlando as location for one of our future franchises?
It's a totally home run. Orlando is the second or the third city in the U.S. with more visits. They just built, another terminal, for the airport. We have Disney there. So many things going on in Orlando. I live in Lake Nona, but the opportunity in there is unbelievable. And I think that with a little bit of creativity and creating this kind of cross-selling strategies and working together with different angles, it's going to be a blast. I think we need it, one more team in Florida for sure, maybe more in the future. But having them in Orlando, man, and this is my hometown, like, hey, I'm amazed, it couldn't be better.
It's like all leagues, right? Sports leagues have areas geographically that make sense. So you could have long term where you have Orlando, Miami, and whoever in a division, and then another division. Speaking of, I think, again, another great segue, Orlando has been added. It's official. Daddy Yankee is an owner. It can only get better. Can you give us some insight on any other teams that are close to coming into this Pro Padel League? Because, I mean, this expansion, I'm surprised you didn't get 40,000 phone calls the minute Daddy Yankee signed up.
No.
I did.
It's not, we can't really keep up with the interest. It's wonderful. In some ways, what's happening after this first weekend is almost as special as what happened on the weekend, because the energy is just so positive. But you referred to Orlando as team number 8. It's actually team number 9.
Exactly.
Team number 8 is so proud of this. We're proud of all of our teams, but you guys know the biggest TV sports markets in North America, Los Angeles and New York. It was critical, very strategic
apple,
to have that geography covered. We now have a New York franchise, and it's led by the best owners you could possibly get. Davis and Mike, I hope you have the new owners of New York on the podcast soon, because these guys are off the chart smart and dedicated to the sport. And Marcos, again, knows them much better than I do. But it's thrilling for the league to have this New York franchise. And then we have, New York, we have Orlando, and there are many others in the pipeline. We're actually trying to slow things down because Everybody wants a piece of this league now. But we've always been very selective, and it's important to be more selective than ever.
Nice. So that's nine teams and counting with others of interest. The New York team, you brought up the New York team. They are, and everything that I've done in research too, New York is one of those cities that are desperately trying to create more paddle clubs and more paddle courts. There seems to be, and everyone I talked to at the event on the weekend who's been in and out of New York have said that it's actually, even though there's not a lot of access, it's being talked about a lot. Marcos, can you speak to that excitement level in the Big Apple for paddle?
100%. I know, a bunch of investment groups and venture capitals working in the area, building facilities and trying to develop the sport. Great things are happening for New York area, really soon to be announced. In our case, I can tell you that we had several applications. We were considering, different options. We finally got, this group that we cannot tell anything about them until they are ready, but you will have them, on the podcast really soon. And, we'll have, an entire press release and announcement and everything. Everything is closed, and we are happy to have them. But I really think that they are the right option for New York team. These guys are super smart. They have, an incredible background. They are, once again, great people, great guys, great human beings. Yeah. They have the right vision. And I can wait to get that announced, man. So we are growing now. It's 9 teams, 2 more to be announced really soon. And now we, as Keith said, we needed to slow it down a little bit because, since Friday or Saturday, my cell phone it needed to be charged, like 3 or 4 times per day, because that was like ringing all the time.
Sorry that I'm calling you all the time. I apologize for that.
Davis, in the last couple of days, Marcos and I have had talks with some of the biggest celebrities in the world now, and no one for us will ever be bigger than Daddy Yankee. We feel like we have our
you hit your home run.
He's our home run
Grand
celeb
Slam.
and business leader. But if other great people enter the picture, we're always open-minded. But it's just so interesting how there's right now a parade of people trying to get into this league. It's not going to stop. We'll be at 12 to 14 teams this year.
Right. Wow. That's incredible. Well, right now we've only got 7. So it's those 7 that are fighting for the PPL Cup, the first ever PPL Cup. And if you could close your eyes and kind of look into the future, and I haven't, but you can imagine 10, 15, 20 years now, looking back at whoever wins this PPL Cup. And if it's going to be as big as I think it's going to be, like, history is history, but this is going to be. So talk to me a little bit, Marcos. You're not going to probably give your favorites away. You're a commissioner, and you love every player and every team, and I know that about you, and that's a fantastic thing. But do you think it's going to be, we talked about the dogfight to get into the playoffs. What a great format. The semis are on a Saturday and the finals are on a Sunday. So only 3 teams don't make it. But don't you truly think that no matter who makes it, it's going to be a win for all the teams just to have the 4 best teams in that semi and final?
That's exactly what I was about to say. And you can call me neutral, you can call me diplomatic or whatever you want. But I truly believe, I have a very strong belief that all the teams together are making history, no matter the result. So we will be proud, in 10 years from now to say, like, hey, we were the ones that were here on year 1. Some of you guys will be winning, obviously. I would love the 7 teams to win, to be honest with you. It won't happen, because you guys need to compete and so on. But all the teams have, the same respect from me. Like, you guys made this. You guys need to receive the credit, and you guys all are winning together. So I don't have any specific.
And we love naming players because I feel like the players don't get enough credit. Mike and I talk about it all the time as we're talking about teams and this and that and owners. And there were some highlights to me. You named Luis Estrada, who plays for the LA Beat. I believe he played in both men's matches. I thought he played at a really high level. He's a non-international, so that was, he fit in beautifully. I love the Cancun team. The Miami team played against them, but is it Paco? Is that his name? Oh my God, he would like just incredible level of paddle being played there. Name some other sort of internationals. I know you've named a few already that fans should be looking forward to because you may not get to see these guys for very much longer. I mean, some of them we pulled out of retirement, right?
Well, we got, Ana Cortiles, Danny Blanchero. I don't want to forget, all of them, but it's a joint, of great players playing. As I told you, Guga Vasquez, Seba Nerone. Seba
And
is a legend.
Guga's for Vegas, right? Guga played a great
Yeah,
game. He played, yeah. Tia Norton also was played
yeah,
alongside Vegas.
exactly.
Tia was strong.
Yeah. Tia
Yeah,
Norton,
yeah.
she's ranked number 1 in the UK.
Okay.
Big piece as well. We got, I mean, I don't want to name some of them and then forget about others because I have, full respect for all of them. But what I would love to highlight is that we actually have some of the best players in the world competing, on season 1 of the Pro Padel League, and
Yeah.
at the beginning it was kind of a dream, like, hey, let's see, how it goes, and maybe we can build this up, from North American players only. And suddenly, we have this big approach, from all the best players in the world calling us and say, hey, we want to participate. We truly believe in this project.
Yeah.
And this is, an incredible milestone for all of us, like having the validation of the best players in the world calling us is like, wow, we are doing something wild, man. This is something that is going to transcend,
Davis,
And
if you want to have a fun experience next weekend,
Yeah.
try and sit down during an Arkansas game near Shannon, because she's not wearing any shoes. She's jumping up and down. I've never seen someone who's just, she's such a great cheerleader and she's so into it. It's great to watch. And I, if I had one wish for this season, it would be for Shannon to actually compete for a team. She's on the roster. I'd love her to get on the court.
Me too. She totally deserves that. She's been a Padel believer from day one.
Yeah.
She has that spirit, that exactly what the sport needs. She's so humble as well, and she's a great player. She's super talented. I need to tell you.
Yeah.
So
Oswaldo
hopefully we can.
Well, she's a Division I tennis player, so that transferable skills are there, right? Her husband Johan, Barbara, yeah, that whole team. I mean, I thought everybody I spoke at length with every single owner, coach, manager, and had nothing but incredible. It was as much of a relationship building weekend for us as managers as it was anything else, because I think that rapport with everybody, we're competing against them, but I know it was strong for me. There was an incident that I want to talk about that was interesting is we're playing Cancun, and the very first point of game number 3 went to the Miami Paddle Club. It was actually a point that Cancun won. And I noticed the scoreboard was wrong. I had mentioned it to the referee. It got to the point where we won, and Marta and her partner were walking off the court, Paloma, and it was actually me that turned to the coach, the Cancun coach, and said, no, the score is wrong. It's only 40-30. It's not game yet. And the coach and I, after the game, had a moment of, that was an incredible moment for our sport and for what this is supposed to be all about, which is, it's not, we want to win the game, but it's got to be fair. But it's got to also be not at the expense of any ill will between coaches, managers, owners, because this is a win for all of us. So that moment, and he gave me a big hug. That moment was one of my highlights because it proves, Marcos, the vision that you talked about earlier, which is to create the right atmosphere for these players to be successful, but make it fair for them and make it and let the players shine. Let's not make the owners and the coaches and everyone else be the narrative here. It's not about us. It's really about letting the players shine. So I thought I'd share that moment because that was a really cool moment.
Because you're a class act. That was a real classy move, and that really epitomizes what Marcos and I really want to embody and represent with this league.
Thanks, guys. Okay, let's queue up. We could talk here for hours, but Marcos has got 400 phone calls with owners to talk to. Nine new teams while we were doing this podcast have joined the league. I want to queue up next weekend. And I think that the podcast really going forward for the rest of the season, other than having some guests on that we haven't had, will be to be talking about the upcoming matches. Let's talk about this upcoming weekend. As usual, there's incredible matches being played. Any one match that you're looking forward to this upcoming weekend? Marcos? They're all good, right?
They're all good, and I'll be there, for all of them, supporting all the teams, so I won't be missing any of them. So best of luck for all of them.
I'll tell you, I'm definitely looking forward to, what is this? Yeah, May 20th, Arkansas versus Cancun. That's on my list of ones to watch. They're all going to be good. And I also think the Vegas Polar Bears, the Smash Polar Bears matchup is going to be interesting, because I actually do think that the Polar Bears, once they start going, and I know they're all North American, Miami men and women, but there's some players on there that I think that can challenge, and I think their men are going to be the ones to do that. And then on this Sunday, I'm very scared, I must say, the Stingrays. I don't want to get stung, Marcos. Can you help me out here? Can I walk above water on that one? How can we get past San Diego?
Well, try to analyze, their players, and create the game patterns for yours, to be in a successful situation as much time as they can. That is what coaches do, all the time.
Oh my God!
Try
Hold
to
on.
Put...
Any advice I can get from you is good advice.
I'll be telling them exactly the same. Like,
I know you will.
So
it's universal. It's universal. No, I think, like, you can go through any weekend, Keith, Marcos, and Mike, and probably not find a bad matchup. But that's the beauty of this, and this is how competitive. We won't know the standings truly until the last weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I would love to mention that we are working on some different surprises. So we are trying to improve the product, every day as we go, and we'll be making some changes that are going to be interesting, during the second weekend. Let's see how it goes. But I would love to encourage everyone in the world to follow the YouTube channel, Pro Padel League, YouTube channel in there. Or if you are in the area in Florida or in the US and you want to come visit us, you can go to propadelleague.com and then get your tickets, complimentary tickets at the very beginning. So we would love
That's
to
incredible.
have
Free tickets. Come on.
There. Exactly.
And I'll also mention that the matches start both Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. That's correct.
And each match will be followed by that. So, like, we started at 10 a.m. last weekend, and we realized that these matches are so competitive that they could go long, and making that adjustment. And that's what this league's about, is making an adjustment for the players and for the safety and for everybody watching. Guys, we have no more time today because we have to move on with our day and do our other things, and you have to take your phone calls. But I will end it the way we started it. But this is all of us, including you, Mr. Mike. We're going to do our 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to end it off with that. Okay? So we got 3, 2, 1.
Vamos!
PPL,
oh my God.
Vamos!
What a bad choir we are. Thanks, guys.